Hi, this is Ryan from Gold Medal Bodies. Today I'd like to talk a little bit about straight arm strength, what it is, why it's important, and as well I'm going to give you one movement that you can use to help you in your straight arm training. When we work out, typically we use a lot of bent arm movements. Movements like a chin-up, like a push-up, movements where we bend our arm. Pretty obvious, right? Now, when we're referring to straight arm training, what we're talking about are particularly holds. And for today's video, I'm going to be referring to the parallettes, straight arm work that we perform on the parallettes. So an example of a straight arm hold would be the top position of a push-up with your arms locked out. Another example could be, for example, an L-sit. That is also where you have your arms locked out. A lot of people miss what we're trying to accomplish when we're working on our straight arm training. And so that's what we're going to talk about a little bit. Why is this important? Well, if you want to work towards advanced movements, and let's talk about the parallettes. Today we'll just refer to the parallettes, even though you can perform these movements on the floor or even with rings. If you're working towards an advanced movement, you can't just jump up and try that advanced movement. It's going to be tempting to do that. But you always have to focus on working on the basics, building a foundation in order to progress up. And building a proper foundation is especially true in our straight arm work. If you don't have this proper foundation, if you don't have the basics of straight arm strength training down, and you try and perform some of these advanced movements, you can hurt yourself, and that's not what we want. So that's why it's very important to make sure that you use progressions in order to get you to these advanced movements. Growing up, my sport of choice was gymnastics. So I spent a lot of time in this straight arm position. We'd be drilling this pretty much every practice. But it wasn't that we were just focusing on straightening our arms. It was that form, focusing on the basics, making sure that whatever movement we were performing, we were keeping good form. And when I was young, I trained a lot in order to make sure that I had these techniques down. However, I took a huge break from my training. Took a really long break. And so even me, I have to go back and work on the basics of the straight arm strength training in order to make sure that I don't get injured and that I'm doing things properly. So what do we do? Where do we start? Well, a good example to kind of feel if you're doing something properly and making sure that you have your arms locked out is by using a chair. And so you can, a chair with arms on it. So you put your hands on the chair and you push down and really push with your feet on the ground, raising your body up and locking out your arms. Now, hopefully you feel this not just in your triceps, but also in your biceps, in the front of your arm. A lot of people, when performing a movement like a plank hold, the top position of a push-up, won't feel it in the front of their arms and their biceps. The reason for that is because they don't have their elbow pits turned forward. So when we're working on straight arm strength training, this is a key point. And this is something that we're going to look at today. And I'm going to give you just a very basic movement, plank hold as a matter of fact. But we're going to lean with it, making sure to keep our elbow pits forward. What this is going to do is help us get a feel for where we need to be when we're working on our strength training in regards to straight arms. Straight arm movements and holds might be quite uncomfortable for a lot of you, but that just means that you don't have the straight arm strength just yet. Don't worry, you can get it, and this is an exercise that you can use to help you get that straight arm strength. This plank lean looks pretty simple, but looks can really be deceiving. And if you're doing this properly, it should be tough. This is the movement. This plank lean, this hold, pardon me, is what I use to help people in working towards the advanced movements like the planche, and even working up to being able to do even more advanced skills like straddle, hold, press to a handstand, lower down to planche, and movements where not just a hold, but a hold in movement, in motion, is necessary. And without this plank lean, this starting point, if you don't have this down, you're not going to be able to get where you need to go properly. So let's take a look at this plank lean, make sure that we have it down, and use it to help us get strong in our straight arm training. The plank lean begins in a push-up position, making sure that we squeeze our body and rotate our elbow pits forward. From here, we're simply going to lean forward. Key point is to make sure that when performing this, that we keep our elbow pits facing forward. This is very important. Really focus on pushing down into the parallettes as you lean your body forward. Make sure your hips aren't too high, and also make sure that your hips don't sag. Remember, lock those arms out, keeping your elbow pits forward, and lean forward as far as you can. Once you get the hang of this, or in other words, you can hold it for an extended period of time, you can start working on taking one leg up off of the ground. Make sure that you're not raising your hip higher on one side. We want to keep our hips flat to the ground and extend our leg while keeping that forward lean with the elbow pits facing forward. In the beginning, I suggest focusing on holding this for up to 3 seconds. Once you get there, add a couple seconds to it, and each time focus on your form. If you feel that your form is decreasing while holding this, cut down on the seconds, go back and reevaluate your form. Work on mastering this plank lean, and it's really going to help build that solid foundation necessary to help you progress towards those more advanced movements. I suggest working the plank lean on the parallettes in the beginning. And once you get comfortable with that, you can feel free to take it down to the floor. I'm going to cover in the next video why I feel that working on the parallettes before you go down to the ground is important and will actually help you to get better in the tricks that you're working towards. So remember, if you want to get those advanced movements, you got to have the proper straight arm strength. Make sure you start at the beginning. Work on those progressions. Once you get the foundation down, you can start adding things on top of that. But don't just try and jump to those advanced movements. That's a sure way to get frustrated and also injured. So be sure to head on over to goldmedalbodies.com, sign up with the posse so that you can get more free training videos like this one.